Hey everybody, it is on screen, off screen. We talk about the movies, books, TV shows that we watch and how they affect our lives. We're in search of those movies, those books that really make us want to be better people, that show who we're going to be in the future. That's what we're looking for, and that's what we hope we can share with you guys. All right, Josh, let's start with your first topic.
Well, I finished Primal Hunter Book 6.
Okay, okay.
It's the worst book so far.
Fair enough. Fair
By
enough.
far. Like, not even close to the other books. It's not a bad book, to be clear. Like, we are still in the this is a good reading experience thing, but all the other Primal Hunter books were great. Very enjoyable to great. And this one is nothing really happens. Last time we talked about it, I brought up how there's no villain or thing that he's trying for, right? So it feels like a character without purpose, and purpose is very important to people, especially males. Like, give a man purpose, he'll crawl over broken glass with a smile, kind of like this person
Mm-hmm.
has no purpose at this point, and we're kind of just seeing him go through the motions, and that's not very entertaining, right? We see him go to his family reunion. We see him talk to his god friend guy, and we see him take a tutorial for school. That's pretty much all that really happens in this book.
Did you enjoy the tutorial? Because I like the tutorial part, honestly.
I didn't.
Okay.
It's just him going through the motions, right? He's just like, okay, I gotta take this test. And, it's better than the first part of the book, where we're seeing him do a road trip by himself. But, but it's not, super great either. I feel like it's valuable character development and it's gonna pay off in later books, and he's going to get to use this knowledge, and he's learning lots of stuff from it. And at the end of the book, we actually do get a villain and a thing for him to work towards, right? He has a purpose again. So I have no doubt that book 7 is going to be picking up and being a lot better. But the problem is book 6, it's kind of hard to get through. It's quite boring. It's not very exciting. There's not a lot going. Like I said, you're just watching this guy go through the motions. And while that time is valuable, it's and I think it probably has something to do with the way that the author is deciding when the end of a book is, which I am not a fan of the way that he does it, where he's like, well, this is about 15 hours of audiobook and book.
Yep, that's exactly what he does. Absolutely.
And that's not good, because to write a good book, you have to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And this is all just middle.
That's how it
This
felt.
is
It's like
all
everything
just
was just
middle
middle.
because, right, book 5 was pretty much just the end of that plot line. So we were getting all of that excitement and set up for future stuff. And then this is all just middle. And he could be more efficient with his writing and make each individual book stand out a lot more. Like, this one, to me, to be honest, if I were to re-go through this series, I would just skip the entire book.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Because it's
Okay.
basic setup. Like, if you know, hey, he goes and he visits his parents, he learns about Metal Dude and his therapist, uh, has a lot of conversations with Lizard God about Smiley and kind of figures that out. And then he applies to go into the school and learns that he does this stuff, and he gets a slave. But he doesn't want a slave. So he and Billy have a lot of funny interactions about that, and they have an argument. Done. That's all you need to know about the book. That's it. I mean, if you want to like add some spice onto that, you can be like, and he learned more about like how curses and all that kind of stuff works through him being tested on it, and he's learned that there's a lot more to it than just that. Great,
Okay.
but it's like, why would I re-listen to that book?
I have re-listened to it, and I think the family part is fair. Like, I think it's important to the character development. Being able to go see your family again, all that kind of stuff is important. Um, but it is slower. When I re-listened to it, I was like, okay, we're getting through this part, whatever. I enjoyed the school stuff. I liked it. I don't even know completely why, but maybe it's because I enjoy the character. I enjoy the aspect of him like hiding his identity in plain sight. I liked all of those little aspects. I like how he's tested and what he's good at versus what he's bad at, and how it sticks well with the character. Um, and then the slave stuff, I love. I love the slave storyline in this book. You basically get like a My Fair Lady aspect to the story, and it's really well done.
But it's barely in it.
That's true. It just starts in this one.
Yeah. And same with the like hiding his identity. Like that is all good stuff.
Yeah.
But and while I haven't started book 7, we're going to
Mm-hmm.
pick up book 7 and he's going to be hiding his identity and he's
Yep.
going to have a slave. So it's like, okay, we really probably don't need the establishment. Like there's a lot of laughs and kind of fluff that comes along with it, especially when he's talking with Villy about having a slave. But you're still just like, okay, how much value is this having over the overall arc? Worth listening to at least once, absolutely. Right, we're getting that slow burn to something bigger for sure. He's gonna go fight a Hydra. That's awesome. I'm on board for it. The Hydra fight in this one is really poorly written
Why did you think that? I liked the Hydra fight too.
because it's all over the place.
Okay.
All over the place. We had a flashback, and I was just sitting there like, where did these characters come from? What the heck is going on?
Oh, I didn't have a problem with that at all in this book.
He didn't
Not even a little
transition
bit.
it well at all. And
But he
Billy
literally talks
shows
about
up,
how
and
he's
it's like,
using the ability to be able to see Villy's past, and the two, I can use two of whatever the resource is. I can't remember what it's called, to be able to go and see a vision. Should I use the two? Blah 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 blah. I think there's a whole segment about using this ability.
yeah, he talks about it, but then he's just doing it, if that makes any sense. Like, we're just in
Hmm.
it. And it could have been my ADHD. I will fully admit that like that's probably taken a big part of it. But I
Mhm.
was literally sitting there like, what the freak is going on? Where did this guy come from? Why is he fighting some random monster? Why do we care about his hammer? What? And then Villy shows up and just kills him? Okay. What? And then we get out of the fight, and Jake's like, I have learned so much from this fight. Let me go apply it. And then the fight is over. Time has expired. And you're like, okay.
Uh, I was not as
Alright.
bummed about this as you. I was like, that flashback is awesome. I didn't get confused by that at all. He does the whole Fangs of Man thing, which I think is sweet. I love that idea. It's a cool ability. And I love the idea that he can use these visions to take other primordials abilities and like apply them when that's something you're not supposed to be able to do. And how badass that makes Jake. He can just take whatever the heck he wants. I like that. I think it's cool.
Yes, it is hypothetically cool, but he didn't use the ability. He was like, "Oh, I've learned this thing because I saw him," and then had a conversation with Villy about it. When Villy
But
just could have like told me about it in the first place, and then I'm gonna get ready to use it and then not use it.
one, he has to use the ability to be able to get this kind of inspiration. Two, he starts to use the ability, and yes, it ends, but he starts winning the Hydra. And you're like, yeah.
No, he doesn't use it.
I feel like he totally does, doesn't he? I swear
No,
he does.
it's a whole big thing. He's like, I have to get away. I have to build this up. I've got
Yeah,
to do it. I'm
because he starts to
preparing my
learn
swords.
how to use it, and he
Yep.
like grabs the sticks
He's
and starts bending the energy around it, and
and
starts
he
to use the
turns his
ability.
daggers into the fangs, and he's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm ready to do it. And then time's up. Hydra disappears, and so I have to let it go. He
But he
doesn't use it.
figures out how to create the ability, which was cool.
He already had the ability. And there's
No.
even a conversation afterwards with Villy where Villy's like, oh, yeah, I've been waiting for you to do that. So it's like Villy could have just told him to do it all along.
And just didn't. Do
Yeah.
you? Because Billy is very hands off. He is throughout the entire series. He rarely
Yeah.
is like, Jake, just do this. Do you feel like you should tell him to just do things more?
No, like, I'm fine with him being hands off, but, like, I hated it in this circumstance because, well, normally the hands off stuff he uses to joke around with Jake or tease him.
Yeah.
In this instance, he's like, oh, yeah, I could have told you.
I just didn't.
I just didn't. And it's like, okay, so you didn't do it for your own amusement this time, so there was no reason for you not to do it. Right? And when he was, he gave the one guy a blessing just so that he would hug Jake, right? That's the kind of character we're dealing with. Like, everything is a joke to him. He's just looking to have some fun. He can't really, like, interact with people because everybody's in awe of his power, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And he finds Jake and he can, and he's like, here's my chance to pull pranks and have a friend and be fun and crack a beer with and all this kind of stuff. And he's rooting for Jake's success, right? He definitely doesn't want Jake to die.
Yeah.
Here is a life-threatening or life-changing ability that you already have that you're not using. But I'm not going to tell you, not for the normal reasons of making a joke out of it or making fun of him or testing him in some way. It's just because he didn't.
I mean, it's also about like the records become more powerful if you figure it out on your own thing from the series.
No, it's if you kind of work at it and make it your own is more it.
Yeah, that's more
Right.
Yeah,
It's
that's
not
a better way of
like
saying it.
if you learn it from somewhere else. Like Jake still learned it from Villy.
Yeah.
He just made it his own and learned to apply it, just like regular people every day learning any task or skill or knowledge. When you apply it yourself, it will stick better. It'll be more effective, right?
But you can still get taught by a teacher, which he does
Yeah.
multiple times in the series.
Yeah, and Billy could have just said, hey, why don't you use your Fang ability? It can be really cool.
Yeah, and you can use that with your daggers.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I wouldn't even call out the daggers, just like, hey, you have this ability. I think it's really cool. And
Use it more.
have Jake just like think about it, and he would have applied it to it. So that's where I was at with it. It was like subpar fight. Like the writer does great fights,
He does.
right? My least favorite fight was in the forest, I think in the second book. The stag fight was a little bit better than the other one that I'm thinking of. But the stag fight we've talked about before, not great either. But
I
it was
do
still
the stag
like
fight, but it's fair.
a little bit better of a fight.
Yeah.
This one is far worse than all of them.
Okay.
Just because it's not really a fight and you don't feel like anything is really happening. And Jake is getting wrecked. And then there's this random flashback that I feel like came out of nowhere and that we were suddenly in. And I feel like the writer also cuts to real time throughout it. So there's confusion there too. And then the fight's over.
And you don't actually get a satisfying end, and it doesn't feel like you really pushed
No.
himself or anything, so it just
No.
feels kind of cold.
And like I said, I am very excited for Jake to rematch with the more powerful version of the Hydra. I am excited for Jake to use the Fang ability with his daggers. I love that the writer's implicating that he actually feels the blade as an extension of himself finally, and that's kind of been built up. Like, there's a lot of good things here, and I'm being pretty negative to the book. Like I said, it's still enjoyable. It's still an enjoyable reading experience, mostly because of the interactions between him and Villy, because that's like
One of the best
ramped up
parts
to
of the book.
11 in this book, where it's constantly happening. Right on his road trip, he's talking to Villy. Then he goes to the school where he talks to Villy, and then he's constantly talking to Villy at the school, and like, why don't I have credits to spend? And Villy's like, because you're Jesus, you don't have to. Like, you could do whatever you want to. And then you also have the aspect of like the other students and teachers like starting to figure out that he's very obviously the chosen one. And it's like, yeah, Jake, you know, it's funny to see Jake be like, I'm being so sneaky and cool here. And everybody who interacts with him is like, oh yeah, he's probably the chosen one.
There's it's so in the next book he goes to this class that's like ridiculously expensive, like wildly expensive, and nobody's like, how's this guy afford this? Huh. There's just a lot of things like that where it's just like, this is kind of obvious. They have all these resources, right? You have a bunch of A ranks, S ranks, gods. They're all trying to find this chosen, and there's an entire planet, like a whole planet that knows exactly who Jake is. And nobody's like, hey, there's part of this new universe. There happens to be a lot of people who are like chosens and stuff on this one particular planet. How about we go ask them? And nobody just goes and asks this question. I don't know. You just kind of have to accept it, but absolutely, that's something that happens
Well,
in this book series.
it's totally fine. Like it's humorous, right?
Yeah.
So he does the same thing in this book where he goes to an A rank class and thinks, well, this is useless. I already knew all of this, so I'm going to start thinking about other things. And then the A rank instructor asks a question at the end of it, and Jake is like, well, if you do it this way, your way's useless. And he's like, oh, we should be friends. And Jake is like, nah. And you go to the point of view of the A rank, and he's like, but you're definitely the chosen one. I want to be your friend. it's it's humorous and it's funny, and you know, it's not a bad thing about the book at all. It's just, right. Like I said, this book, because of the way the writer writes, it's just middle. It's
Okay.
just it's just building up. I think book seven's gonna pick up. I'm not like down on the author. I'm not down on the series. Uh,
What if book 7? I think it'll be a little better for you, but what if it was exactly like this, like the same level?
it would be really hard to go on to the next book.
Okay.
It would be really hard to be like, okay, I've read 2 books. I listened to 1.5 or 2x speed, so I've wasted 24 hours of my life and nothing of value has happened. That's kind of a hard thing to get past as an author, right?
Have Have you ever read like the cozy fantasy stuff? I'm curious what you think about it. If you've read any.
I haven't.
Okay.
And I don't know what it is, but based off of that name, it is not my thing, and it is just a waste of time.
There's like Legends and Lattes. It's one of the most famous ones, and basically it is a fantasy coffee shop. Like that's what you're reading about is people's lives at a fantasy coffee shop. It's kind of like the romantic, uh, hallmarky kind of stuff of fantasy, sorta.
Okay. Yeah. It's hard enough for me to get into a book if it's not really about anything. Like, I'm just severely
Just not gonna do
uninterested.
it. Fair
Yeah.
enough. Fair enough. All right. With that, let's go to my first topic. Um, I'm gonna do the Ranch fourth season first. I honestly thought that I watched like 6 seasons of the show before I ended. I didn't finish season three, which I thought was crazy. I didn't remember that the Fez guy, the Roberto or whatever his name is, got deported
Hmm.
at all, which sucks because I like that character. Um, but this show is just extremely fun, and like it's just funny. It's got a lot of heart. I like the idea of everybody just giving their best. A lot of times, they, a lot of these shows will have the families just kind of fight each other just to fight each other, and I hate that. And this one, yeah, they have their little fights, but a lot of times they just come together. They serve each other. They try to lift each other up. Yeah, the brothers give each other crap, but they just care about each other, and it's really cool. It's a cool thing to see. It's not it's not like, oh, cowboys, they're just dumbasses. They don't do anything like that. I like that. I feel like it's a fairly respectful show of cultures that aren't normally as respected in a lot of this media. Um, and it's overall a pretty dang good show. The there's a couple things that I'm not really sure about. I don't know if Abby should have left her fiance. I think that was a kind of a weird forced choice. But when I look at the show, it makes more sense to me that she would have actually just stayed with the guy. And going back to your ex, you do not agree. You are shaking your head.
No, not at all.
Okay.
That relationship is everything that I'm opposed to in modern culture. She's in it for stability and comfort and for finances, and not because she actually cares about the guy.
You don't think she cares about the guy at all?
I think she thinks he's a good person. I
But
think
that's
she
it.
sees a lot of good qualities in it, but I don't think she is in love with the guy. I think she says, "Oh man, if I marry this guy, we're going to have a house and he's going to give me kids and he's got such a steady job. We'll never have to worry about money and he's passionate about what he does. I don't care about what he does at all. In fact, I make fun of it constantly. But, it'll pay the bills and, you know, my parents love him."
Do you think that she's in love with Ashton Kutcher's character or just in love with
Yeah.
the idea of the history of them? Because that's kind of what I think.
I think she's actually in love with him. Like, I think that their love never really stopped. In fact, I
Okay.
don't think it does for anybody ever, but yeah.
I think going back to your ex is usually a bad thing. I think it might be in season five, but Abby, they're getting married, and Abby is sitting at Colt's house in their room, and she starts crying because she just lost her job, and they're back to the same place that they were in high school, and she's like, "How did this happen to me?" And I think a lot of people, when you go back to who you used to be with, you revert to that person instead of moving forward with your life. And I kind of don't love that. And it seems like Colt isn't doing that. Abby might be doing that a little bit.
I don't think so. I think that the when she feels that, it's very real and like that's a real emotion that she would have.
Yeah, it
But
sucks.
she's also not thinking about all the growth and changes she's had since then, right? Like she's a teacher now. Uh, she's not doing all of her crazy, stupid high school stuff. And like, yeah, she's in the same place with the same person. And like, I just think that like sometimes, not all the time, you can have the right person at the wrong time and get back to the right person at the right time. And that's what I view that relationship as. Because Colt really needed to mature a lot
But
by
he,
going through his football stuff before he was ready to be the right person for her.
I think he does mature, but he seems to mature a lot when, not Abby, the other girl, loses the baby.
Yeah, because he's
That,
never really had to dealt with anything serious until she got pregnant. That's when I think he changes the
yeah,
most.
the pregnancy. But before that, Abby would just be dating basically Colt Bennett, who has been Colt Bennett for a very long time, who doesn't seem
But he
to
is
have grown up
still
that much.
changing, right? You can see it very clearly through the early seasons, right? At the very beginning of the first season, he is Colt Bennett. I'm the football star. This is just a thing. I'm gonna be back into football anytime soon. I'm not gonna take anything seriously. I'm gonna have flings with everybody. Nothing really matters. I'm not even gonna respect Abby in her relationship, right? But then there's those times when like Abby brings her Ford Ranger over to get fixed because it's a Ford. It always needs to be fixed. And they have this like very charismatic relationship with each other, right? She's in the relationship with the other guy, so she steps back. They get into a fight about it. But like you have those interactions where Colt is starting to show more maturity, and you can see the shift of Colt from football guy to actually identifying himself as a rancher,
You do see
right?
that.
So
That's true. And he
Abby
gets
would see
really, really
that too.
serious when he knows he's going to have to take care of a kid
Yeah,
and wants to be different. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And so Abby sees that too. She sees like, oh, he's coming back. He's still the same guy. I'm not gonna take a chance on it. But then he starts taking ranching more seriously. He stops talking less about football. He starts actually valuing his relationships with his family more. He talks about forgiving his father and dealing with heavy stuff in that situation. And then, okay, maybe this is a thing. I can't really change, like she still loves him. That's how I feel at least. Like she's always loved him. She still loves him. She sees him changing not for any other reason than himself. Like, yeah, those are small incremental changes. But if you look at Colt at the beginning of season one, at the end of season two, those are still completely different people. They just happened slowly. Like the development of his character is one of the one of the best character developments I think of like almost anybody in almost any show
Wow.
because
That's big.
he still keeps to those core cult things that like yeah I don't believe anybody like fundamentally really changes. He's changing these little aspects of himself. He's maturing. He learns he's gonna have a baby, and I've seen it in my siblings that when that happens there's this like night and day difference in their lives, and that sense of responsibility and that sense of love and affection for the child, and all of that changes overnight, and he starts to get heavier and heavier, and then he loses the baby, and he goes through another big change of I worked so hard for this. I was taking it so seriously. I was starting to get excited for this. I was starting to, think outside of myself, right? And I don't think he regrets it. And
The
then you move on to the even more mature, ready for Abby relationship.
the conversation that he has with what is her name? It's not Abby. What is the other girl's name?
I don't even know.
I can't remember. Other blonde girl. The conversation he has after the baby dies, I think it's season 5, episode 1, where he's just like, I was relieved and how horrible am I it's my favorite part of the entire show. And how he does a great job with the acting in that. I think as far as what I've seen him act, it's his best acting. And he just I changed so much, I became so much, I did so much, and then I was relieved that I didn't have to. And what kind of monster does that? And instead of fully just giving up, he's still trying to buy that other ranch. He's still trying to grow. He's still trying to have a life with Abby, which I thought was absolutely awesome. I love that section. The growth, to me, felt like it came a little bit late for the whole Abby relationship, and then I'm like, you're just dwelling on the past. But I think you make a good point, and you could be possibly right. You could.
Well, I think it's ultimately down to, right, like, I just don't believe anybody ever really falls out of love, right? I think they truly loved each other in high school. They weren't ready for it. Things happened. He went on douchebag football things,
Some
and Abby
people
went on to be more mature.
wildly change. Like some people change quite a bit. Yes, there's still fundamentals that are the same, but you change quite a bit. You think you're still in, I mean, you'd be in love with the person that you remembered. You're not necessarily in love with the person that is there.
Does Ashton Kutcher's character ever stop being goofy and fun?
No.
Does he ever stop being empathetic and serious towards his family the way that he needs to be?
In moments, but overall, no.
Does he ever stop being able to work hard? He makes fun of working hard,
It works hard.
but he works hard throughout the entire series, right? Those core aspects, and I think particularly his goofy character and the way that he absolutely just loves his family, even when he should take a step back, uh, is the same characteristics that Abby loves him through the rest of the series, and that's probably the reason she loved him in high school. I don't think Abby was ever like, oh, he's gonna be a football star.
She just loved the good aspects of
She
him.
just loves the good aspects of him, and I think that that's a beautiful
And
thing that happens.
he's grown enough that he's going in the right direction. You can see that he's actually trying and moving forward. Where if he was just the same person, and if he just reverted to football guy, she'd probably be like, "Get out of here," or it would become toxic.
Yeah. And I think that like the core aspect of that is he's changed to doing things for himself
Okay.
to doing things to better himself, if that makes any sense. Like she's seen him try and change for other people.
Yeah.
He's seen him do selfish things for the result. He's now working on getting his own ranch for
Abby and him.
Abby and him, for that prospective baby, for a better version of himself. So I think that's what Abby sees in that, and I think that's completely healthy. I think that is an absolutely good thing that people should go for.
Cool. I mean, this went a little bit deeper than I was planning, but I think that's a good thing. It has a lot of good writing. Has got a lot of good relationship aspects to it. I I remember the first time watching it hating the mother and father dynamic. I still have some problems with it. Like, he's not stopping you from traveling, so why do you need to leave him to travel? Because he literally has the entire show is just like, Abby, or what's her name? The mom. The dad is like, Mom, I want you to be happy. If you need to go travel, go ahead. And she's like, I just can't stay with you if I'm gonna go travel, which I find stupid. But I like how they stay civil and they still try to work on help their kids, and they still like the mom will take over and help in the ranch when the dad needs it, and the dad or the sons will go and help with the bar. They like stay as that family unit, even though there's that contention of the parents splitting apart. I just don't think they necessarily had to split apart, but that's just kind of splitting.
I disagree with you there too.
Why? Like, she could have left. He said literally nothing ever about her not being able to just go.
He doesn't say you. You're right. He doesn't say you can't go. He doesn't say don't go.
Yeah.
But he does say, how dare you go after she had gone? How dare you leave the ranch and this family? And she, hold on. And I think the bigger issue is that they have fundamentally different ideas of what a relationship is. Right? She only sees the value in traveling when it's with someone you love. Right? Okay. And for her, she's not in a relationship with somebody right now because he is not willing to give at all. And that's kind of valid, right? He doesn't give at all. She says, come with me, come with me, come with me. And he says, no. Go do it yourself. And then she goes and comes back, and he's like, how dare you leave? How dare you abandon this family?
So, I mean, you're missing out on a point there, because he's like, how dare you leave and not tell me anything? They're supposed to meet up. They're supposed to, like, reconnect and all this stuff. And all of a sudden, she's just gone. Yeah, I would be absolutely pissed too. It wasn't
Yeah.
about her leaving, it was about the way that she left. Because the way that she left sucks.
Yeah, but she's still left. I think you're underestimating the impact that that also had. Because even building up to it, you can tell he doesn't want her to leave. And he begrudgingly says, just go.
I
Right?
didn't ever feel that way. The entire show, I was like, he's telling you you can go, and you have all these reasons why you can't live under the same house. But he's not controlling you. He's not a controlling person.
Right,
That's
but he's
not
also the
really him.
person who has tried to change the most and tried to give the most and tried to make the relationship work. And she just keeps saying, no, I want more. No, I want more. No, I want more.
That has some fair points. Yeah.
Right? So, like, yeah, they are both at fault. I agree with you completely. They are both at fault for the separation. But it's still a good thing that they got separated.
But I just don't think it would have had to go that way, and it was the mom mostly just not going on a vacation for whatever reason she wasn't going on a vacation.
But it's not just the vacation.
I mean, it's about her being able to have this kind of freedom that she thinks she doesn't have, but he's not keeping her from actually having.
Except he treats her like crap when she does go. He resents her for opening the bar. He resents her for not being there for him when he's out working the ranch every day. He treats her like crap for this, that, and the other.
It seems like he resents her for not talking with him. Like, I don't know about the bar being open. It doesn't ever say this, but knowing
Yes,
her
it does.
character, does it talk about her actually discussing it with Bo?
Yeah,
'Cause
Bo
I don't remember that at
absolutely.
all.
It's like season 2 or season 3. I don't
Okay,
know
okay.
exactly. It's they spend the night together, and Bo goes, "Why don't we? Why don't you just stay, Maggie? Why don't you just stay?" And they have it out. And he's like, "You opened that bar without asking me. You were never home." And she turns around and says, "Even when I was home, you weren't actually present."
Which is a problem too. Like, I do think I can see him having that problem, but it seems like he's more mad about the lack of communication. Don't communicate about with opening the bar. Don't communicate about leaving. Don't communicate about any of this kind of stuff because I'm gelling you, even though he's really not.
But they're both complaining about communicating. Both of them acknowledge, right? She's saying, even when I was here and I was talking to you, you weren't present, you weren't listening because you were worried about the ranch. While
I'm
I
only
was
worried
raising
about
the
the ranch.
boy, you were taking care of the ranch. And even when you were home and I was physically with you, you were still thinking about the ranch. You were
Ranch
still,
instead of being
you
with
weren't
me.
present, right? So
So
both
she
of them are
feels like
saying
she can't
communication's the problem.
actually. It doesn't matter if she communicates or tells him that she's leaving because he's not going to hear it anyway. And he's saying, I want you to tell me about you leaving and creating a bar, and you won't do that. And then you just have the problem conflict on both sides.
Yeah, you have the very typical male female communication barrier where she's saying, I want to go on a vacation. And what she's really saying is, I want you to be interested in my vacation and possibly go with me on it. I want you to say, oh my gosh, that's so exciting, take pictures. Or, is it possible for me to come along with you? And he's saying, if you want to leave me, just leave me, stop playing with me. But they're not actually saying those words throughout the entire thing, and it's becoming a bigger and bigger thing. And yeah, I think the separation is absolutely warranted because I do think she takes it too far, leaving without
Saying anything.
saying anything is absolutely appalling. And the fact that she keeps acknowledging things that he's doing, but not giving him credit for it, and still saying, no, it's not enough. And he's straight up like, when is enough? And she's like, well, when you're an entirely different person than who you are. And that is appallingly gross as well. So them separating, getting divorced is absolutely the right call. They're absolutely not right for each other at that point in time because they both want fundamentally different things. They have different value systems. They have different life goals. They have different beliefs. They're just they grew apart.
And they're not willing
It
to
got
come
worse.
together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I see your point. I think they still could have talked it through. They've talked through all these major problems. And when they talk about the ranch or the boys, they do such a good job of communicating. So I think that they could have communicated, and she could have just said, I really want to go on this trip. I I feel like you're stopping me, like she says multiple different times. And he actually is a fairly decent communicator a lot of times in the show and could have just said, how am I stopping you? Because it just doesn't seem like he's stopping her at all to me. Um,
I think that goes with how he treats her every time she goes and comes back or talks about the choices that he makes. Like, there's straight up a conversation where Bo's like, I want somebody here. I want to live under the same house, same roof as my wife. I want us to work on the ranch together. And she's like, no, I want to go travel the world.
yeah, but they've literally been living apart for so long already. I mean, she literally has a bar, doesn't live with him,
And is
and
that a good thing?
she still can't just go on a vacation. He's still somehow stopping her from going on a vacation when she doesn't even live in the same house.
Right. But again, that's not a good thing that she does that.
I know that's not a good thing, but I'm saying that's why it seems ridiculous to me.
But every time she does something that in her eyes is gaining more freedom, he belittles her for it. He treats her like crap for it. Yes, I agree she doesn't do those things in the best way, right? Getting the bar, going off on her own to do that, moving out on her own. Like, she does those things in not great ways, but Bo also doesn't, like, treat her well for those decisions.
I mean, what is being treated like? My wife comes home, she's like, guess what? I bought a horse. And we didn't talk about buying the horse at all in any way, shape, or form. What is a good way of responding to that? Oh, thanks. I'm glad you bought a horse. No, I'd be a
Why
little
did you buy
annoyed.
a horse?
I'd be a little, you wouldn't be
Help
a
me understand this
little frustrated. You wouldn't be a little
decision. Why
frustrated
didn't you communicate this with me?
if someone just did that.
Not like Bo is, I wouldn't be.
Okay.
Right?
I,
You're talking to me. I'm
honestly,
very anti confrontational, and I do
you are.
often super try and understand.
I think Bo probably doesn't seek to understand when he should, but I don't blame him for having an instant reaction of "What the hell? Why did you just leave?" Um, which there's a few times where Bo seeks to understand, but it's rare. It's rare. Um, I think I'd probably be a little bit like Bo in that situation. I'd be like, "Why the hell did you just leave? Why the hell did you buy a par without asking?" And then I'd probably talk to my wife later and ask, why did you feel like you needed to do this, and try to plan from that point on. You know?
Okay, what we're talking about is healthy, though, and that's not healthy.
But you
You
can
can't
train your
treat someone like crap and then say, but I came back later and had the appropriate conversation.
I
You
is
still
it
treated them like crap.
completely unhealthy to have an instant response of like, why in that, because she at that point she's treating him like crap, and you can respond and be like, why the hell did you treat me like crap, which is basically what he's doing.
That's not healthy. That's not the quote unquote most morally, ethically acceptable, preferred way to do it.
That's true, but I think that is pretty freaking human, and it is hard to train yourself to not have that response. Yes, it's healthy and good to train yourself not to have that response, but it's hard.
I know it's hard, and everybody makes mistakes, and everybody treats other people like crap all of the time, right? But if let's just accept your premise,
Yeah.
right? Your claim then is there should be understanding and making up of one direction and not the other. You're saying forgive Bo for for doing his thing, but we're not going to try and understand Maggie and give her forgiveness for her thing because her thing is worse.
I do think the initial aggressor is worse, to be completely honest, but both are bad. So, like, I mean, this is more physical, but if I come to your house, I knock on the door, and I point a gun at your face, and then you shoot me, yeah, shooting me really is not the best thing. Maybe you could have talked me down. Like, there's other options, but I also pointed a gun at your face, and you have a right to shoot me. Like, prefer.
Yeah, right? I'm not disagreeing. What she does is worse.
Yeah.
But my point is both of them are fundamentally different people who are
Okay.
unwilling to meet in the middle.
And if you're unwilling to meet in the middle, you might as well move forward.
Right? Bo often is the person who's like, I will give you an inch. And she's the person who says, I want to take a mile. And so he flips out and is like, why aren't you giving me credit for my inch? Why are you like. But ultimately, like, their value system's different, right? Throughout the show, she goes more and more to the left.
She does.
He is more and more conservative and family oriented, and she's more and more like girl boss, get me the heck out of this tiny town. I want more and more and more, right?
Yeah.
So the greater conversation that we're having, right? Was it a good thing for them to separate? Yes. Absolutely. It was the right call. Okay. Right? I think both of them are happy after they're separated.
Both of them are better off because they can go for somebody that they've become.
Both of them are better off. And both of them feel like I'm not tethered to this person who doesn't want me.
So is that, I mean, you came from a family of divorce. Is that when you think divorce is a good thing? Is when people just like stop walking towards each other? What's the point where you're like, okay, cool, we can move on?
I think it depends on the person, right? For me personally, if I were to ever get into a relationship, only disloyalty and dishonesty would get me to leave that relationship.
But what about if you guys grow apart like this?
Well, when you have people that work at it, like I would work at it, it wouldn't get to this point.
But what if she isn't working at it?
Then it's never going to work, right? But that's on me to pick the person who is going to work at it. But when I look at my parents who were separated and divorced, I think it's absolutely a good thing because for my entire life, they were never a couple. Right?
And how would you define a couple?
Two people in a relationship together.
They weren't that?
My dad always slept on the couch my entire life. Didn't even think anything twice about it. I never saw any physical affection between the two. I saw them kiss twice in my entire life. Once was at a wedding when the photographer asked them to.
Wow.
The other one was not good and didn't turn out well. And I'll just leave it at that because it's just wasn't a good situation. Right? They never talked to each other. They never made plans together. They weren't working together. My dad often did things without talking to my mom because he valued the money as his money. And my mom often didn't communicate with my dad. And it became to the point where they were staying together for the benefit of the kids. Like, they never even fought.
Really?
Still have never seen two parents fight with each other to this day in my life. Never seen it. They just were under the same roof for 16 years and then or longer than 16 years. For 16 years of my life, separated for 2 years, fought over custody over a 16-year-old all the way to the point where he was 18, and then finally divorced because there was no more custody battle to be had.
So with the ranch situation, do you feel like there's still a couple at all? Because when they talk about the ranch or they talk about the boys, they definitely come together, they plan together, they work together, they communicate pretty well. So is that still a couple,
Yes,
or is it just not enough of a couple?
it's not enough of a couple
Okay.
because they both have their vision of what the relationship should look like.
It feels like they have a
Right?
vision of what their personal life should look like, and they just happen want to bring the other person along with that.
No, they both have different values on what a relationship should be,
Okay.
right? To Bo, right? In Bo's ideal life, Maggie is living at home. She's being a mother to the boys all the time. She's not there just when it's convenient or when she's called upon or when the boys go to her. She's there all the time. She's helping out at the ranch. She has similar goals on making things profitable and make things work.
They
And
want to
to
go hunting
Maggie,
together and all that kind of stuff.
yeah, but to Maggie, she wants somebody to go travel the world with. In her eyes, the boys are grown, so it's time to move on from parenting the boys. It's time to let them go, right?
Get
So you're talking
even
about the
maybe
boys.
sell the ranch and go do something different.
Yeah, like when they talk about the boys, you talk about it being all good. I never saw it as all good because they have fundamentally different approaches, right? Bo is they still need parents. Look at how they act.
Hmm.
And Maggie is look at how they act. It's time for them to take responsibility for their own actions. We need to step away. I think she takes it too far and doesn't really give this motherly vibe at all because she's straight up like, let's leave the state and they can take care of the ranch, right? I think moms are a little bit more loving and well, motherly than that, but like that's the approach she takes. And I don't have anything against it. It's fine. If that's the kind of person you want to be, she's right. They are fully grown adults and they should learn how to take care of themselves. And the best way to do that is probably on their own.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah. And Bo's like, they drink all the time. They do have no sense of responsibility. They just go and do things. They
We
don't
need to
take
whip them
accountability, right?
into
We need to
gear, blah, blah,
whoop
blah,
them.
blah.
We need
Yeah.
to abuse them into submission. And so they've even got different ideas on what that parenting at this stage looks like. I think they had more aligned things when the boys were younger,
But it still feels different.
but
So nothing's
at this
aligned.
point in their lives, they've deferred and now have different approaches and perspectives, right? There's even a point where Maggie's like, I basically raised them. It's your turn, Bo. And that's not a good thing either. So is it a good thing that they separated? Yeah, right? I think that like anybody who's in that situation, separation, I'm not going to be mad at you for it. If I was personally in that situation, I would try and make it work. Do I think it could have, they could have made it work? That's a different conversation.
What do you think?
Because,
Could they?
yeah, they could, but it would take both of them being humbled and both of them coming to the table and both of them coming to an understanding,
Which is a lot.
which is a lot, which is Maggie would have to come and say, you have to let me take these trips. You have to let me have my political beliefs that are different. You have to let me run my bar. And you have to be grateful for the things I do have.
Do you think
But I will
Maggie
come
would have
home
been
and
cool with you have to let me go on these trips? Because I still think Bo is letting her go on the trips. Or you have to come with me on these trips.
I don't think again, I don't think Bo is actually letting her go on the trips. Because every time he says just go, it's just go. I'm done with this conversation. Just go. If you're gonna go, just go. There's nothing more I can say at this point, so just go. Right? That's the approach he has. I don't think he's actually like excited for her to go on the trips, right? For them to do it, right? It would have to be more clearly communicated, and it would have to be more limited, right? You'd have to say, we will finance your trips, but in turn, you can't take them as often as you want. We have to budget for them, right? She would have to say, okay, but you're going to have to come on some of them with me. And Bo would have to go on them, some of them with her, even though it's not the most comfortable thing for him. Right? They would both have to humble. They would both have to go and meet in the middle, and they would both have to work at it. But they don't work at it at the same time. And they both are like, I'll give an inch, but I will not give anything more. And they're miles apart.
And you think, what is... So that's what Bo has to give up. What does Maggie have to give up? Just go and live at the house? Is that it?
Go and live at the house. She can't be as free and as hippy-dippy as she wants to be, right? She talks about selling the ranch and going and traveling for months at a time.
Yeah.
Right? She can't do that. She has to stay and take care of the ranch. She has to be around the boys and deal with them and try and parent them and all of those things. Now, to be clear, I actually think her being away is the best thing for the boys, but in terms of the relationship, she would have to go and give some to Bo too. She'd have to live under the house. She'd have to be around the ranch more. She'd have to be with Bo more, right? Bo's big problem is she's never around. He's working at the ranch all day, and then he's exhausted, and he wants to see his wife more. Well, she would have to be there for more than just a hookup, right? They would both have to give up a lot at this point, because, like I said, in my mind they are miles apart, and each of them are only willing to give an inch.
That was really interesting. I didn't think we'd go that deep on the ranch, but it's a really good show. Most people will just find this as a funny, entertaining show. I like that conversation. That was cool. Let's go move on, because that was longer than planned, to your next topic.
Eragon Book 1. Not going to be as heavy as a topic. Don't worry, guys. How is this book as popular as it is?
I remember liking it a lot, but I haven't read it since I was in like the 3rd or 4th grade.
It's good. To be clear, it's a good book. It's enjoyable. It's cool. Dragons, awesome. The ending fight scene, very well written. It's very cool. All of the character motivations, very good. But it's not great. It's got some weak points. Eragon gets knocked unconscious 3 times before in the first 2/3 of the book. I asked my writer friend, how often can an author reuse a plot device in a single book? Like knocking somebody out to pass time or location. And he said, there's no hard rule. You have to listen to the feedback of the beta readers. I think that's overdoing it. 3 times he's knocked unconscious to pass time or location. This whole book takes place over 3 months? Football players don't even get knocked unconscious 3 times in a football season. And if they did, they would have severe cognitive issues. But every time the author kind of just needs him to change places or get arrested or whatever, knock him unconscious. Just knock him unconscious.
Some time has passed.
He just wakes up and some time's passed or he's in a different location. And that's not great if you ask me.
Okay.
1 time, I think, is what you should be allotted for a book of this length, because that's fair. Sometimes you just need to do that. But one of the times it was an escape. Did you really need to knock him out for the escape? Couldn't he have just been conscious and riding the dragon for the escape? What are we doing here? I don't know. But, that's a choice the author made and the publishing company made and his editors made, that they said it's okay, so what do I really know? Like, that is my biggest, like, what were they thinking part of this book?
Okay.
Because, yeah, you could have just made more interesting dynamic stuff happen during this time
Then
rather than just
conk out
not
next
have to write at, that's kind of how it felt. Like, oh, I don't want to write this escape thing, so we're just going to knock him unconscious and skip to when he's awake. So yeah, overall though, like, even if I ignore that, I still think it's a pretty good book. It's not super great. My next question is, why is everybody so upset at the movie?
I don't know. I've never understood that. Yeah, it doesn't. It's not a very good representation of the book. It's not. But
Everything I saw, I think it's a pretty good representation.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is 10 times more accurate than the Percy Jackson movies.
That's
the Percy
true.
Jackson movie still got a sequel.
That's a good point. Because yeah, the Percy Jackson movie is not. It's rough.
The common complaint I hear about the Eragon book or the Eragon movie is Saphira turns into an adult dragon in a blinding flash, and in the book it takes months or weeks. That transition sequence is basically exactly what happens in the book. She goes flying, he gets knocked unconscious, wakes up to find a adult dragon.
Huh. I remembered it being more different than that. Is it really that close?
What? Yeah. Like, yes, it is different, but I don't think knocking your main character unconscious less is a bad thing. Yes, they took liberties. And yeah, they changed stuff. Like, in the ending fight, that one main bad guy wasn't really there. But, like, there's also, like, there's no dwarves, which is unfortunate. There's no dynamic between the elves and the humans and the dwarves, which is unfortunate. Like, they could have made the movie better. I'm not arguing that point, or more accurate to the book. But this is regarded, like, this is talked into the same conversation as, like, Avatar: The Last Airbender, the M. Night Shyamalan
which is
movie.
Ridiculous.
And I'm sitting here like, I have always liked the Eragon movie. Yes, I hadn't read the book at the time, but even now that I have listened to the book, what is the big deal? Like, it's a movie adaptation, and I still think it's fun and enjoyable.
I like the Percy Jackson movie too, and both of these I had read the book before I watched the movie, and both of the movies I thought were enjoyable.
I mean, I had a big gap between reading Percy Jackson and watching the movie. Yeah. So when I watched the first movie, I really didn't hate it. I wasn't, like, super into it. I definitely liked the Eragon movie more. Okay. But just a little bit. Just a little bit. And then I last year rewatched, or not last year, like 2 years ago probably at this point, I reread the Percy Jackson books and then rewatched the movies, and I'm like, okay, those criticisms are fair. The hate for the movie is fair. I still think the first movie's pretty good.
I do too.
But I understand it. This one, I don't get it. I do not understand the massive criticism of it, because it's fairly accurate. It follows largely the same plot. All of the really important details are all still there. And it's just enjoyable, right? I mean,
it is. It's an enjoyable movie.
Now that I know about the dwarves, am I sad they're not in the movie? Sure. Dwarves are cool, and they play an important role. But when I didn't know about the dwarves, was I mad that there wasn't some other dynamic there? No, it was still an enjoyable movie, and they still dealt with the incoming attack in the same way.
And I don't even care that much that the dwarfs aren't in it. Like, they're better in the first book, but the reason I don't like the second and third book as much is because the dwarf parts are slow as hell. And it's not even that big of a negative to me, to be completely honest.
I think fundamentally, if you're talking about the world and the reason that they're there in that location, and the reason that
It
the
is
tunnels are
important.
there, and the reason that the elves are the way that they are, and the reason that the elf girl had the egg is all because of the dwarves, right?
So it's kind of fundamental to a lot of the
It's
story
fundamental
aspects.
to the story aspects, like how did Aragon get the egg in the first place? In the movie, they don't really address that,
He just has
right?
the
They
egg.
say she had it and she lost it, but like, why does she have it and why did it get lost in that location? Is all just kind of like, because it did, you know? And that's fine. The book did a good job of explaining all of that stuff. But the movie, it's a movie adaptation, and like, I still like it. I will still go back and rewatch that movie.
Would so rate them both. Rate the book. Rate the movie.
The book is like a 6 out of 10,
Okay.
6.5 maybe.
Okay.
Aragon is an 8 out of 10.
Oh, it's that high for you. Wow.
I have easily rewatched that movie multiple times in my life.
Wow. I've watched
Like,
it
it's
since I was maybe 15.
when it first came out, I saw it maybe like 4 or 5 times. And
Wow.
then I heard everybody hated it. And I was like, I don't understand that at all. I really enjoyed that movie. And then I didn't watch it for a while. And then somehow it popped back up. It's like, oh, yeah, this is something that everybody hates. Ha ha ha. Because internet. And I was like, I should watch it again. So I rewatched it again. And I was still like, oh, that's pretty good. And then, like, I don't know, 6 months ago, probably right before we started doing this podcast, I was like, I'll watch it again. Like, yeah, this isn't at the forefront of my mind, but like, would I rewatch this again? Absolutely. Would I rather watch this? Or, we start in the middle. Is it this or Black Panther?
This is better than Black
Easily,
Panther.
easily better than Black Panther.
Easily.
Easily. Okay. Would I, is it a 6 out of 10? Is it something that I would rewatch kind of begrudgingly? No, I would. I would just rewatch it. Is it something that I would kind of watch, if somebody else wanted to and not
Or
really
maybe every
mind it,
5 to 10 years or something.
or every so often? Like, no, it's better than that. So yeah, it's an 8 out of 10.
Wow. Okay.
It's if we put it on the list of 8 out of 10s, no, it's not the highest 8 out of 10, and it's not at the forefront of that, but it's still an 8 out of 10 to me.
But really, I was thinking about it while you were talking, and there's only 2 dragon movies I might like better than this one.
There's easily 3.
I like Dragon
Nope.
Heart better than this.
Okay, hold on, time out. What are we talking about? Books or movies?
Movies.
Movies. Okay. How to Train Your Dragon.
Oh,
How to
dang,
Train
I
Your
forgot
Dragon
about that.
3.
How to Train Your Dragon 1, 2, and 3 are both better than this movie.
Not 2. Not 2.
I
2
like
sucks.
2 also better than this one, but
I
that's fair.
don't. 2 is awful. 2 is worse than Black Panther.
All those are better.
No. How to Train Your Dragon, the show. I haven't seen, but looks good. I know you enjoy
I was
it.
just doing movies.
What other dragon things? Because I wouldn't put The Hobbit above it. I don't
No,
hate The
I wouldn't
Hobbit as
either.
much. Desolation of Smog's okay.
It's okay, but this is a better movie. Dragonheart, I like definitely better than I like this movie. I love Dragonheart, legitimately. I think this is better than Neverending Story. I think it's better than Pete's Dragon. Oh, what is that one called? There's one with Reign of Fire. I really like Reign of Fire. A lot of people don't, but I love that movie.
I haven't seen it. Do the Godzilla movies with Ghidorah count? Because he's kind of a dragon.
Sure, I'd count it. I'd count
Okay. Any of the Godzilla movies with Ghidorah in it. Any one of them.
it. Okay.
Because those
Okay.
are all awesome.
I don't think I've seen any of them.
You haven't seen the second or third main one?
I haven't seen the third one now.
Hold on. What is it called?
King of Monsters.
Yes.
Is that one? Yeah, I haven't seen
King of Monsters. Oh, it's awesome.
Just,
It's my favorite of the new ones.
okay. I'll try it sometime because you love it so much. I really don't like the first new one. I didn't enjoy it very much at all. So I didn't.
Well, it depends on which first new one you're talking about, because there was the 2010 one that takes in place in New York, and it's awful. Then there was kind of the soft reboot with I think it's 2014.
Bryan Cranston and Elizabeth Olsen.
Okay, yeah, that one's still not the best one,
Yeah,
but
I
think it's
movie.
good. But yeah, I think King of Monsters is the best one because it's Godzilla versus a three-headed dragon. It shoots lightning. It's awesome.
I'll try it. I'll try watching it
Awesome.
because you like Godzilla as much as you do. I have tried. I don't know. It seems like I would love Godzilla. I just don't. I don't know why. But that's cool.
It's because you're too analytical of it and you watch for plot, and there's no plot. There is none.
There's monster fights monster. That's about it.
And it's awesome. Shrek. Shrek is better.
Oh, yeah. Shrek is better. Shrek is way better.
Is
Shrek better than How to Train Your Dragon?
It would depend on who you ask.
For you. For me, How to Train Your Dragon is better.
Shrek is better.
Okay.
But
I would be very, very close. Very close.
Yeah, for me, it's just nostalgia.
Okay.
That is the only thing that separates them. And if somebody says How to Train Your Dragon's better, I'm not mad at it at all because How to Train Your Dragon's great.
It's so great. Cool. All right, let's go to our next topic. I watched The Pacifier and The Game Plan this week. I had watched The Pacifier when I was a kid. I didn't remember it super well. I remember the basic premise and what happened. The Pacifier didn't work for me very well as an adult. I thought it was very corny and it felt very kiddish to me. Like it didn't feel like a whole family enjoying movie. I was like, this is kind of, it's rough. You have this Navy SEAL and he's like overly Navy SEAL-y the entire time. And all the kids, I feel like, couldn't act in this one. And the main villain was stupid. I don't know. There were a couple of little funny parts, but overall, Pacifier didn't work for me that well. The Game Plan was a wild surprise, and I was not expecting this to be as good as it was. The girl in The Game Plan, I cannot believe has not become a bigger actress because she is fantastic in this movie. It's funny, it's sweet. The father going from the playboy to like the wanting to be a caring father. Yes, it was all very much like you knew this was gonna happen. There were even lines that were very like 2000 lines of like we can do this together at the actually like perfect points for a line for like that to be in those type of movies. But it was just enjoyable and really really sweet, and I feel like everyone could really get behind that. They could get behind this daughter who is a little bit conniving and a little bit like sneaking around to be with the father, but it's in a really charming way. The way that she interacts with all the other football players it's just charming.
Stupid is a mean word. It's one of the best lines.
It's great. It's a great line. And the fact that her mom died and she just like takes the initiative to try to connect with her dad. But then when she feels like she's taking away from her dad's life, she steps out of it. I loved this movie. The Game Plan, I love this movie and I will absolutely watch it again. The Pacifier, I probably will never watch again in my life.
I think you're missing out. I genuinely think it was probably your expectations after what I had to say about it. Like, I acknowledge that it has flaws, but it is fun for the whole family. Like, the whole thing is kind of that early 2000s ridiculousness. Like, let me just talk about the opening scene. right?
Yeah.
He has a team of Navy SEALs. He's going over the top. He's like, here's the plan. You, person A, you have to take out two guys on jet skis. Person B, you take out the guys on the boat. I am gonna take out the helicopter and rescue the main guy. Person four, your whole thing is call for help. That's what he says. And then he says, let's do this. And it cuts to a scene where a guy is putting on motorcycle gloves. And then it cuts to a scene where they're underwater. You're telling me that these Navy SEALs, as amazing as they are, they outswam a boat and jet skis and a helicopter? I don't think so. I think
No.
they just watched that guy go off into the distance. And that is just the opening scene, right?
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous and it's stupid and it doesn't make sense. And to a kid, they would watch that scene and go, okay, he's a cool guy. But to an adult, you just sit there and laugh at how stupid it is.
Yeah. My
Right.
favorite part of the entire movie was the why do you have boobs? I thought that was so funny.
Yeah, when
So
she's like,
funny.
will my boobs ever get as big as yours? Hilarious.
Hilarious.
Absolutely
That is the
great.
best part of the whole
Right?
movie.
Yeah, you have the Girl Scouts beating up the Boy Scouts.
That was pretty good too.
Great part, right? It's, I think fundamentally, the game plan is a better movie. Plain and simple. It's more
Yeah.
thought out. It's a little bit better. But ultimately, these are both like movies about fatherhood. We don't really get that anymore. I absolutely love that. We got this. The Pacifier, there's probably a nostalgia factor for me personally because I did watch it more as a kid. But like, it's still my favorite Vin Diesel movie.
I would put for
know?
me quite a few over the Pacifier, but like I get it. You watched it when you were a kid. There's those couple parts that I like. I thought the driving scene was just kind of like, whatever. Most of the and weird. I like the teenage daughter later on and stuff that she does. I think she's a good actress, but in this, I don't think she does a good job. And then the wrestling coach is so damn cringy. Like the entire thing is awful, and you don't. I get that he's in a wrestling suit to like be the fun thing, but he's supposed to be a black belt. You could have just put him in a gi, and so he doesn't look completely ridiculous. And what person? Okay,
But he's
you think
not
you think that
doing
you're
karate, he's wrestling.
you think you're it's I guess that's true, but you can do taekwondo and you can roll like that's a thing in every martial art. In most
But
martial
he's
arts, not every martial
wrestling.
arts.
They challenged each other to wrestle.
They challenge each other to.
And he's the wrestling coach.
I believe it was a roll. I think they literally talk about it being a roll.
Or
let's
wrestle.
Do they say wrestle in that?
Yeah, they're even talking about teaching the wrestling team how to wrestle.
Okay, so he just thinks he's a nanny. He doesn't think that he's a Navy SEAL or whatever. I get that. That's totally fine. But being bigger is a thing. Like that's a thing, and he talks about it multiple times. Literally brings up his like giant man titties or whatever. This guy is ginormous, absolutely huge. I did martial arts when I was younger. I still would be like, you know what? That guy is ginormous. I'm gonna be a little bit careful of the ginormous guy.
Okay, but
I don't know.
again, in defense of the wrestling coach, he's bigger than him.
I'm a little bit taller, but
Not a little bit, a lot of bit.
it looked a little bit taller.
He's
Little
like
bit.
6'3", and Vin Diesel's what, like 5'10"?
Is Vin Diesel only 5'10"?
I'm looking it up. He's 6 foot.
Yeah, 6'1" is what I got.
Google says exactly 6 foot, which means he's 5'11" and a half. Let's see. He is
Man, this is saying 6'2".
6'8".
Oh, okay. Never mind. He doesn't look that much bigger in the movie. That's crazy. Okay.
I think he does.
Okay.
They do the
Okay.
camera angled up to make him look bigger too.
I thought he looked a couple inches taller at most, and that's it. That's a big difference. Okay. Okay. That makes it a little less dumb. A little less dumb.
Okay, and again, he's playing the personality of somebody who thinks more of himself too.
Yeah, absolutely. That is his personality in the show.
And it's played for laughs, which I think excuses just about everything. And yes, he's obnoxious. Yes, it's stupid when the principal calls him harmless, because I'm like, nope, that guy's a predator.
Absolutely.
That guy
He's
should
a
be in
freak.
jail. Yeah. But it's played for laugh. He gets beat in the wrestling match. It's a laugh. It's more of a kid laugh, I grant you, but it's still kind of
Absolutely.
funny when it goes, and the chicken, you're the chicken wing or whatever. And then he's in the end and doing the play, and again, it's just for laughs. So I think no harm done. It's just for laughs.
Yeah, it's not a terrible movie. It's just, I guess if I had a kid and they really wanted to watch it, but like as far as movies that I want to watch, The Pacifier is not on that list for me.
I understand that. Yeah,
Game
it's not
Plan is one I would rewatch by myself.
Yeah.
I would rewatch that movie.
right, right. But like my whole thing is these are both fun for the whole family, right?
Yeah,
Let's fast forward 5 years, 10 years down the road. Conlon's got a little one. You want a good, wholesome family movie. Yes, this is not going to be at the top of your list, but is it on the list?
I don't know because honestly, truly, I've got like so much time to watch movies. Right, I would watch Cody Banks twice before I watch The Pacifier. For real.
Okay, but when you have kids, you're going to have watched Cody Banks 20 times.
I love maybe the Game Plan's a better option there because I love Cody Banks and I would totally watch Cody Banks 20 times.
Okay, you're going to watch it 50 times
The
then.
Game Plan, watching it 20 times, maybe on like the 8th time, I'll be like, hey guys, have you seen this movie called The Pacifier? It's real good. You should watch that instead.
Yeah, I'm not
5
saying
times maybe,
it should be at
whatever.
the top of your list, whatever. But
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
the fact that it's on the list is the important thing, right? And
yeah.
the fact that we have this option as a fun for the whole family. I'm
It's
with
cool.
you. I would rather watch Agent Cody Banks.
Absolutely.
And I would rather watch The Game Plan.
Absolutely. I would rather
But-
watch Cheaper by the Dozen. I would rather watch.
That one's a toss up for me.
Okay. I like Cheaper by the
I
Dozen more than that.
just watched Cheaper by the Dozen, and I think it's got the same problems with the Pacifier
Oh, really?
as you have with the Pacifier,
Okay.
where there's cringe and cheese and just uncomfortableness, and like you have what's his name, Steve Martin,
Yeah.
famous comedic actor.
Mm-hmm.
I think the entire movie hinges on Ashton Kutcher.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I think he comes in and is the personality and gives you the funny parts to get through the movie.
Without him, it'd kind of fall apart.
Yeah. But that's just my perspective. Like I said, I would toss them up 50-50. Not saying one's better than the other.
Yeah, I
They're
haven't seen
both
Cheaper by the
equally
Dozen in a minute.
nostalgic to me. They're both equally there. They were both part of my childhood. I had Cheaper by the Dozen on VHS as a kid.
So did
Right,
I,
like-
and I'd watch it all the time.
The Game Plan or the Pacifier was more a get from the library movie for me, back when they did that. But like I'm not gonna put one or the other ahead of them. I do think that I enjoyed it a little bit more than you did.
Fair enough.
So that's the next question. Where would you rate the Pacifier on a scale of 1 to 10?
As a just watch it by myself, like a 4.6, I thought it was. I don't know. There were a couple laughs that made me raise it higher, but I didn't think it was that great. Watching it with kids, maybe it would change a little bit. I don't know. The Game
What about
Plan,
the Game Plan?
I really enjoyed actually. High sevens, 7.7, something like that. Like solid. I really enjoyed this movie.
Good.
Way more than I thought I was going to.
Well, good. Which one did you watch first?
The Game Plan is the one I watched first.
Okay.
which maybe that shifted it some for me too. I don't know.
I thought you would have watched the Pacifier first and then had low expectations for the game plan. Maybe it's the opposite. Maybe you watched the game plan and thought, oh, this is really good, and then were disappointed in the Pacifier.
That's
So
possible.
it might have been a little bit heavy there, too. I don't really know. But
I don't know. I watched that, and then I watched Cody Banks after, and I was like, Cody Banks beats everything. Cody Banks is great. But I have nostalgia up the wall for that movie.
here's what I really want to know from you, though.
Yeah.
Your homework assignment is watch Spy Next Door.
I've never seen Spy Next Door. Is it good?
It's the same thing as the Pacifier, but with Jackie Chan. And I want you to tell me which one's better.
Okay.
Because it's a hot topic for 90s kids like us, of which one they actually watched growing up. Because I had never heard of Spy Next Door till I was like 20.
I've heard of it. I remember, but I've never seen it.
Okay. The plot is the exact same as the Pacifier.
Okay.
It's exact same.
Same thing. Okay.
I feel like some people grew up with Spy Next Door and think it's better, and I grew up with the Pacifier, and so a lot of people like me think it's better. But I'm curious as to what you'll think on that one.
I'll watch it and we'll see. We'll see. All right, guys. With that, let's go to our shared topic: 7 brides for 7 brothers. I should be absolutely opposed to every aspect of the show, but I liked the music. I think the dancing is fantastic. I liked the color schemes. I had a really, really good, enjoyable time with this movie, even though the story is kind of appalling. Basically, it is a story. There's even a song that's like absolutely disgusting about how the Romans would find pretty maidens and they would take them home and force them to just be their wives, and how that's awesome. While I was listening to this song, I was thinking to myself, this is a terrible song that is extremely catchy, and they're totally gonna go steal a bunch of women and hold them captive for an entire winter. That's what's gonna happen, isn't it? And that's exactly what happens. They do it a little bit more tastefully because they have the first bride kind of protect these women. So it's a little bit more than like they just take them and they live with them and all that kind of stuff. But it's still pretty downright like terrible. So should I have enjoyed this movie as much as I did? Probably not. Doesn't change the fact that I had a very good time with this movie. What did you think, Josh?
My note is basically the same thing. They sure did make Stockholm Syndrome look fun.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is. It's about them kidnapping these girls against their wills.
Yeah.
And then slowly over the course of 4 months, through the winter, they fall in love and want to get married. And the songs were great. They were catchy. The dancing was fantastic.
So
the part
good.
where they were putting up the barn
Is it
and
awesome?
doing the like fight dancing, awesome, like so well choreographed and great. And what an amazing talent those guys had to do those things. I was absolutely in awe when the guy was doing the like giant worm on his arms, pushing himself up without his legs touching the ground, but would still like do the. I was sitting there like, that, like what body strength and control to be able to do something like that. That is astounding.
Jumping on the boards and just having it like bend perfectly, and them dancing while they literally are on like the horseshoe poles. Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And the girls did such a phenomenal job of dancing with both and flipping around and then switching between the partner. Like the choreography was absolutely amazing there. And it was just fun. And yeah, you're right. Stockholm Syndrome is definitely what that is. But at the end, when all the girls are like, it was my baby, even though it was 4 months and it couldn't possibly have been any of their babies. Uh, was you still rooted for it. You were so happy for him at the end, and like having
And
all the guys, even though they're not actually like named guys that you actually like. I can't tell you a single one of their names,
me either.
but they were all like purple shirt guy, yellow shirt. Like the director or whoever chose to have them in very distinct colors the entire time was great. I only remember one of the girls' names, and that's because it's the worst name in history, and it was named like 4 times in the movie, and I think it's because it's a funny name.
What was the name? I can't remember.
Dorcas.
Any of them. One of them names was Dorcas.
Yeah, they say it multiple times in the movie. The first time I was like, Dorcas, really? And then they came out and they were like, hey, Dorcas, how dare you dance like, or she was being the like prude who was like, get away from the window. And they were like, don't pretend like you haven't done that too, Dorcas. And you're like,
Yes.
that's
I
her
remember that.
name. Her name is Dorcas. That's so good. Absolutely great. Like, it's a great time. It's a fun time. This movie should not be remade. The age of it absolutely plays to its goodness. And if it was redone today, they would absolutely ruin it.
Yes. I don't even know how you would remake this.
Oh, they would make it a big stink about how it's terrible, and it would become a big political thing, and they would change all the songs, and that would become basically a different show because
You couldn't do it. There's no way.
it's appalling. Kidnapping somebody to marry them is a bad choice.
Yes.
But you know,
And talking about how the Romans did it, so it's
I'm
okay.
single, so maybe I should shave and go with a mustache.
And dye your hair red, because none of them were actually redheads.
I don't think I could pull off the look like they did.
Oh, dude, I think you could.
No way.
Hey, comment section. Should Josh dye his hair red?
No. Should I try just mustache? That would be the play.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think you should totally do a mustache.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mustaches are in now, man. Do it. Get that mustache going. Anyway, I enjoyed this. I will watch this again. I don't know if I should have enjoyed this, but I did. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Okay, so here's the question. What would you rate it on a scale of 1 to 10?
Oh, that's a good question. You know what? I want to give it an 8. I really had a good time with this. Like a really good time.
Okay. We also talked about a musical last time. Singing in the Rain. Okay, you watched Singing in the Rain last time.
Yeah.
Which would you prefer?
Oh, Singing in the Rain, but just skip that one part that I think is stupid. Without a doubt. Okay. Absolutely. Okay. Singing in the Rain without that one part that I think is stupid is like a 9.5. Absolutely amazing.
Okay.
This was very, very good, and I really had a good time with it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm there with you. I would just give it more like a 7.5, because would I easily rewatch this? I don't think I would easily rewatch it, but occasionally I'll put it on. I mean, I saw it once 5 years ago now, and watched it a second time now, so it's about between a 7 and an 8 for me. So 7.5.
Sweet. Yeah. I can see myself watching this a lot more than that. All right, guys. With that, that is our episode. We appreciate you watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. We will be back with another episode soon. See you guys. Bye.